just led a class series on the water element. So there are 5 elements, each associated with a season in Chinese medicine, and each also related to organs and meridians. And so the wood element is associated with spring and the liver and gallbladder. So not only the physical organs, but the meridians as well, and the role of the liver and gallbladder encompasses physical, mental, and emotional aspects, as with any organ in Chinese medicine. So we'll kind of dive more in depth into each of those organs and meridians and their roles in later classes, but for today we'll just talk a little bit about the wood element in general. And so there are different correspondences with each of the elements. So as I said, the wood element for the season is spring, and for the cardinal direction it is east. For the stage of life, thinking about it as a plant, each of the 5 elements as a stage of life in a plant's life cycle, the wood would be the sprout, that first kind of bursting through the surface, first little burst of green above the soil. So with water, we talked about it being like that seed, that potential kind of stored underneath the ground and the snow through winter. And it doesn't seem like there's much going on from the surface. You can't see anything, but that seed holds the blueprint, right, for this whole plant. Could be a whole tree. So the wood element is that first little sprout bursting up and out into the world. The organs, as I said, are the liver and the gallbladder. The flavor associated with the wood element is sour. And as I was saying with the sprout, the energy of wood is moving up and out. And then for each element there is an emotion associated with it, which is translated as a single word, but really these emotions exist on a spectrum. So for the wood element, the emotion is translated as anger, and really we can think about it as a continuum from passiveness to aggression. So healthy wood in the middle would be assertion, being able to assert yourself without make your boundaries known or make your ideas known, to speak out, to speak up without necessarily having anger or belligerence or language that is unnecessarily aggressive, or it could be passive aggressive, right? That's all kind of different forms of imbalanced wood element. And so deficient wood element could present with a kind of meekness or timidity, passive aggression, kind of feeling like a doormat. And you could also fluctuate between meekness and anger, right? And in fact, when you are not expressing or asserting along the way, it can lead to repression, and then eventually there's something that just is like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then this rage or anger bursts out, rather than being able to assert your boundaries. And sometimes that's just maybe what's necessary to become in touch with your boundaries. So a lot of us kind of have a negative association with anger, and maybe even with assertion. It seems like it's unkind to clearly state your boundaries without kind of softening it, but then this can lead to this can lead to a real violation that then leads to more kind of uncontrolled anger, right? So there is a perspective that there can be healthy anger, useful anger, that is, it comes up in the moment, and like you can think of it with social activism, where perhaps you have calmly asserted something that you need or want, and it's been ignored, and so then there's this need to kind of elevate your voice to be heard. Perhaps the only way to be heard is through something louder, and maybe through anger. So it gets into pathology when this anger is lingering past the point of usefulness, or if it's turning to violence, belligerence, rage. So we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, over the next few weeks. But this kind of either repressed anger, or even if it is expressed anger, can harm the wood element within us, the liver, the gallbladder. It can also be more like a kind of daily frustration, right? Wood likes to move forward. You can think about it like the roots of a tree, that if it comes across an obstacle, rather than just stopping, it just takes its time and grows around that rock. Or even like a little vine could slowly assert itself into a space between a board or something, and just slowly grow. Or we can think of it like plants growing up from cracks in the sidewalk. So this quality of wood, that it's not, no one would call a plant unkind for growing between a little crevice and just asserting its space. And there doesn't need to be any rush to it. There doesn't need to be any stress. It's just finding that space and bit by bit taking up that space, or moving to where there is an opening. So wood doesn't like to, if you are getting stuck and you're unable to kind of broaden your perspective to where you can grow or shift your energy, then this is where you can come up against an imbalance in the wood energy, and frustration and things like that. So there's some people where that's just their default is getting stuck, venting frustration, and then moving on. So this person might have kind of a more prominent wood element within them. Another aspect of wood, well, going back to the correspondences, we were talking about the emotion. Each element has a virtue associated with it. So the virtue associated with the wood element is translated as benevolence or humaneness. So there is this desire with healthy wood element to act on the best interest of humanity or of life. There's this kind of broad vision that wood has, and this kindness, that really just wanting to do what's best for people. And it may show up kind of one-on-one, but there's also this more of a broad scale sense to it, where maybe this person seems like a jerk one-on-one, but they are donating generously to charities, or they will be quick to give you something for free if they see that you need it or you want it. Really kind of acting on the best, what's best for humanity, and maybe not caring so much about niceties. So that is the virtue of the wood element. And the climate associated with the wood element is wind. So lately there's been some pretty strong wind here, fittingly, and wind can be kind of gentle and pleasant, like a breeze on the beach, or it can be, think about a hurricane. It can be destructive and devastating. So wind, and in all of these climates associated with each of the elements, can also be attributed to conditions within us from a Chinese medicine perspective. So with wind, it's always pathological, and it may differ in scale, it may differ in cause, but usually a kind of deficiency in the wood element, particularly the liver blood, can leave this kind of opening for wind to arise or to enter, and it can result in things like what is called wind stroke, or in Western terms, just a stroke, kind of the most devastating form of wind. It could manifest as tremors and things like Parkinson's. So these are some examples of internal wind. Another key thing with the wood element is flexibility. So the liver and gallbladder qi are associated with our sinews, or the tendons and ligaments that connect our bones and our muscles, and that comprise our joints. So having supple joints, often contributes to our physical flexibility, and on a mental level as well, wood can manifest as mental flexibility, being able to kind of, like I was saying before, when you confront an obstacle, to be able to move around that obstacle, to pivot. So the gallbladder and the liver help us to kind of be quick on our feet and able to respond to obstacles that come our way, and can also give us a broader perspective. So the liver chi is also connected with the eyes physically, as well as with our vision more mentally, spiritually. So it lends us the ability to kind of see the forest rather than just the trees. And we'll get more into this later, but each of the yin organs has a spirit associated with it. So for the liver, it is the hun. And so this is said to leave your body while you're sleeping, while you're dreaming, and kind of travel out and be able to see this broader perspective while you sleep. And each of the organs also have specific times of day according to what's sometimes referred to as the Chinese clock, where these organs are at their like peak functioning, and then on the other end of the day they're at their low point. So for the liver and the gallbladder, this time is roughly between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. So it kind of depends on what time of year it is and daylight savings and all that, but essentially those kind of like the depth of the night hours. And so it's ideal to be asleep during the time of the liver and the gallbladder, even though they are the wood elements all about activity and movement and decision making. This time kind of highlights the necessity of rest and restoration to the wood element for it to fulfill its role, right? Everything has a yin and a yang aspect, and the yang needs the yin to function, and vice versa. And it's said that it's beneficial to sleep on the right side. If you sleep on your side at night, where the liver, the organ of the literal organ is located that stores the blood, so that the liver can really soak up that blood and be available to us when we're awake. And the expression, I need to sleep on it, makes a lot of sense, because the liver and gallbladder play such a role in our decision making. So in order to be at their best functioning, it's best to be asleep during those hours, and then to be more clear-minded the next day, to be able to move forward decisively, to take action or not, whatever is the best mode. So there is, like I was saying, there's this very kind of yang. The wood element is more of a yang element out of the 5. And so there can be a really like strong presence to someone with a strong wood element. They can be almost a little intimidating, or come off kind of bossy or pushy. They might be loud or just kind of very assertive. But there is also this important yin aspect to healthy wood element, about the blood, and having a healthy amount of blood and a healthy blood circulation. And so this kind of allows us, in Chinese medicine, the blood is viewed as being really connected to our consciousness and our ability to be present, and not only present, but kind of in a grounded, calm way. So a healthy wood element can lend us that presence. And then one more thing I'll say with the wood element is it has a lot to do with cycles and rhythms, especially the liver. The liver is kind of like our internal scheduler, planner. So if your sleep is off, it could indicate a disharmony in the liver, kind of out of whack with the circadian rhythms, also menstrual cycles. If there's an irregularity or issue in the menstrual cycle, almost always involves the liver, some kind of disharmony there. And we'll leave it at that. So in the next classes, we'll dig more into the gallbladder and the liver and their specific roles and patterns of disharmony.